glad to be here in Riverdale tonight with you. And I will speak about a few different things, whatever Hashem brings to my head. As you know, there's more than 80,000 religions and cults in the world. More than 80,000. Some religions, like Christianity, has close to 2 billion followers. Islam, rather 1.5 billion. Hinduism, hundreds of millions. Buddhism, hundreds of millions. You know, so massive amount of people that follow these religions. Everyone knows that the right chronological order, that the first main religion in history is Judaism. There were many cults before. Even the Torah said that there were idol worshippers, and in the time of Abraham, he went around the world and everyone was worshipping something else. There's different groups who worship different things. But the first time an official religion started was when the Torah was given to the Jews 3,324 years ago in front of millions of witnesses. I made a whole movie about it. It's very recommended. It's also on my website, divineinformation.com. It's Torah and Science, 4 hours Jewish seminar. Over there I analyzed the difference between Judaism to all these fake religions who came after. When I say the word fake, it's not maybe they're fake and maybe not. It's 1,000,000,000% they fake. The reason I know they fake is because it takes maximum an hour to prove that religion is not the word of God. Maximum an hour. If you're brilliant, it takes 5 minutes. If you're an average person, up to an hour. But not more than that. How I can be so confident? The answer is, all we have to do is find 2 mistakes. One mistake, it's enough. But to make people feel good, well, they have to find is 2 human errors in a book, and we know God never gave it. So if we open the book of Christianity and we see that the cave of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are in the city of Shechem, when everybody knows it's in Hebron, God doesn't make such foolish mistakes, right? Every little kindergarten Jewish boy knows that the cave, Me'arat HaMachpelah, it's in Hebron. But in the New Testament it says that it's in Shechem, in Nablus. So that's a human error. And in a book of Christianity, it says that Jacob went to Egypt with 75 people. They copied it wrong from the Torah. The Torah says 70, and accidentally they copied 75. It shows you God never gave these books. And even if you think, okay, listen, maybe God gave it, but people, while they copy it over the years, they made many human errors. So what God gave and what we have today, it's 2 different things, but originally it was from God, right? That could be a valid point. So the answer is, even if that was the case, we had a divine document which got mixed with human errors, therefore the divine document is worthless. Since every verse in it, it's maybe human, maybe God. Maybe human, maybe God. I'm not going to dedicate my entire life following the book of law when I know a hand of people like you and I interfere with that and modify it. Intentionally or not intentionally, it doesn't matter. So the book is not divine. Therefore, when I read that I have to put tefillin every day, maybe that's the second mistake. When I read that I have to keep the Sabbath, maybe that's the second mistake. When I read that I have to get married, maybe that's a mistake. You know, so there could be many things in the book. Everything is questionable. Therefore, we cannot rely on it. Same thing in Islam. Human errors, plenty of human errors. It says that JC was born to a woman, Miriam, and they mixed this Miriam with Miriam, the sister of Moshe. So all of a sudden, Moshe Rabbeinu became the uncle of JC, which is 1,300 years apart between them. They mixed between 2 Miriam. They copy from the Tanakh. They saw Miriam, the prophet, the sister of Aaron and Moshe. And then they saw Miriam, the mother of JC, in their story. And they all of a sudden, in the Christianity, and the one who wrote the Quran made such human error that it leaves no doubt that God never gave this book. But there is even a bigger problem than this. Even if we wanted to know what's the authentic Quran or what's the authentic New Testament, we'll never find it. Why we'll never find it? Because there's more than 200,000 different versions of the New Testament. More than 200,000 copies. Therefore, if we wanted to point our finger which one was the original one, we will never know. And the same thing, the Quran. There's hundreds of different Qurans. So if we want to put our finger on one of them, we will never know which one is the one. Let me speak. I always show the differences between Judaism to Quran, to Christianity, to Buddhism. I usually don't speak about Hinduism. So one person made a comment. He said, you're always focusing on those religions, but Hinduism, it's also hundreds of millions of people. So let me say a few words about it, just for us to appreciate how lucky we are to be Jewish. In India, it's a very attractive place for many tourists. It's a country that attracts tourism. Many Israelis finish the army, they like to go to India, for a few reasons. One, it's very cheap there compared to Europe, America. It's much cheap, cheap. You can live there for $50, $100 for the whole month, you can survive. If you want to live fancy there, $500 a month, you're like a king. The drugs there are very cheap. It's very expensive to get drugs after the army in Israel, since almost everyone using drugs, unfortunately, today, and it's not an exaggeration, almost everyone, include here in America, include kids with yarmulke, include kids in the best yeshivot using drugs, believe it or not. It's an epidemic. So they go to India, they can get it for very cheap. Many of them become mentally sick for the rest of their life. They come in a bag to Israel, unfortunately. But it attracts a lot of tourism. Also, there is many parties. They make parties, thousands of people half naked or completely naked on the beaches. Sdom ve'amora, everything is, there's no limit there. There's barely police. And if the police catch you, you can give them $50 and they let you off the hook right away. It's a country almost with no limitations. Let's give you some example about their religion. Over there are many, many gods. Just like the Greeks in the old days, before God wiped them out from the face of the earth, they had many gods. The religion of the Greeks, they believe in different gods and they have different philosophy. Even though they're very good in math, geometry, physics, they were very clever people. But when it came to spirituality, they are not so brilliant, because if you checked the beliefs that they had, sometimes you wonder how brilliant people like this came to such horrible philosophical conclusions. Let me give you some example of the Hindus. First of all, there are hundreds of millions of very poor people living there, basically on the street. If you go in India, many, many thousands of people laying on the sidewalks. That's where they live. They have no home, so they live over there. Approximately about 7 years ago, they had a civil war there. Hundreds of thousands of people died, and there may have many epidemics and many sicknesses who killed millions of people there since India became a country, mainly children, because the medicine over there is not so developed like the rest of the world. So millions of people are dying there. Now, over there, they force little children to get married. So therefore, they have hundreds of thousands of widows younger than 14 years old. They're already widows. Since there's wars and sicknesses, many men and women already lost their spouse when they got to already 14 years old, believe it or not. Therefore, there is a restriction in their society. It's not in the law, but everybody understands it very, very, very clearly, that widows are not desired. No one wants to marry widows. So if you're 14 years old and your husband died, nobody wants to marry you. You basically die widow for the rest of your life. You live for the rest of their life as a widow. Therefore, when the British occupied there and they came over and took control, they canceled many of the very cruel laws that they had in the land until they came there, because they're more civilized. For instance, they used to execute widows with the body of her husband. The day her husband died, they used to take the widow and kill her and burn her alive with the body of her husband. That's what they used to do, but the British cancelled it. They used to kill female babies. If you have a boy, it's very good. If you have a little girl, baby girl, they kill the girl. And sometimes they even kill the mother. If you have too many girls in a row, they kill the mother. Why? We don't want girls over here. We want men. That's how horrible it can get. They also used to hunt people, innocent civilians that pass by, Indians, tourists. They hunt them and they sacrifice them to their gods by killing them. This is India of these days. Also, they have many, as I say, many gods. Their gods are basically all human. It's someone that they turn them into a god. Their gods are far away from setting a good example of morality or decency. The opposite. Their gods most of them represent the most horrible human being can live on earth. Let me give you an example. Their most loved God over there, right? Who is he? His name is Shiva. That's the Indian God. He is demanding to sacrifice people to him, to kill people by sacrificing them to him. He is at the same time is fasting all the time, and at the same time he dances erotic dancing. And he is married, and at the same time have many girlfriends on the side who walk naked on the beach and run after married women of other decent people. You understand? They believe he's responsible on the world, he's controlling, he's creating, and at the same time they play dice, and there's a game after him, and he's playing dice, gambling on the dice, and is addicted to gambling. This is one of their main gods. This is this religion. They have temples over there that you walk inside, there's millions of rats going all over you. You have to sit there and the rats are all over. They come on their face and they have big statues over there. Horrible religion. Nothing personal against the people of India. No, I don't want you to get it wrong. We are now just comparing religions here. Definitely no God gave such religion. And this is made up religion that people make up every day something new. But we, the Jewish people, we are very lucky. Our religion is very clear. There's no room for mistakes. There's one God, He's the creator of the world. One day He took us out of Egypt and He gave us the Torah. All millions of Jews heard His voice speaking to Moshe. And if they did not hear Him, none of them would agree to receive this religion. No one. Why? Because first of all, it's the hardest religion to practice. There's many laws. Most of the laws are people cannot understand in their human logic. So therefore, if the people receive this book and they read all kinds of things that they have to do, many of them are very, very expensive mitzvot. Sukkah, Lulav, Arbat Aminim, Shabbat, holidays, you have to close your business on a 7th day, the whole week you have to eat matzot, each matzah is $4. It's a lot of expenses in being a Jew. Tefillin, $1,000. You have to put mezuzot all over your house. It's more than $1,000 in most cases. The kosher food is usually double or triple everywhere you go. You're very restricted. You're very limited. The law of modesty are very strict. The law of decency are extremely strict. Every little thing already can be not according to the rule of morality of the Torah. So people obviously have all reasons to reject the religion. The question is how millions of people agreed to receive such a religion and everyone became ultra orthodox. And I'm not talking about the orthodox people of today that on top of Judaism they added all kinds of European or Middle Eastern tradition. That's not what Judaism is about. Yes, the Sephardic Jews and they have Middle Eastern and Arabic culture in some extent. And there's the Ashkenazi Jews who have European mentality and clothing and food from Europe and accent from Europe and all kinds of customs who came from Europe. We know that, but that's not the religion. This is a way of life. This is customs. This is what people adopted as a part of the exile. Please do not make mistake. Religion, when someone asks you what does it mean to be a Jew, it doesn't mean to have a black hat like this, or to dress in a certain way, with a tie, without a tie, with a long coat, with a short coat. This is what people invented. With or without it, it doesn't affect Judaism in any way. Which means if you decided to wear a sack and you live according to the laws of the Torah, you're still a kosher Jew. If you wear, as long as the clothes are modest, that's already a part of the law. Men and women, even by men, you have to be decent and modest in your clothing. But other than that, if you wear anything you want to wear, as long as it doesn't violate the laws of modesty, that's it. You're a kosher Jew. You don't have to belong to one of the ethnic groups. Whether they came from here or from there, it doesn't really, it's not so relevant. I'm talking the original Torah until it was written in Shulchan Aruch as one religion. Same Shabbat, same mezuzah, same Brit Milah, same tefillin, same kosher food, everything the same. Nothing changed, Baruch Hashem. One Torah all over the world. We go to Hong Kong now, you go to any synagogue, you open up the Torah, you go to Damascus, Syria now, same Torah. You go to Israel, you go to Iran, you go to anywhere you go, even in India, same Torah from the beginning to the end. The story didn't change, the names of the people are the same chronological order, the same dates, the same events, everything the same. Even though this is a religion that everyone was really anxious to destroy. Everyone ran after us. Everyone wanted to destroy the Torah and the customs of the Jews. Every empire who occupied the world, first thing in their mind was to come to Jerusalem and destroy our temple, even though we had nothing to do with them. They're in one side of the world, in Babylon or in Rome, and there's no internet, no telephone, no communication between us and them. They bothered so much to bring their horses and their boats from far away to a little Jerusalem just to destroy our synagogue, which was the Holy Temple. Why? Because everyone knew as long as the Jews are rising, will always highlight how fake we are. So the first thing they always wanted to do is to destroy Judaism everywhere they can. And they did make rules that you cannot learn Torah, you cannot walk with tefillin. People used to walk with tefillin all day. So they canceled that. They made rules you cannot circumcise the babies. They made rules in the older days that you cannot even announce Rosh Chodesh. Before the Jewish calendar was written, you had to go to the ancient days, and people used to look at the moon and announce the renewal of the moon, and they count the days manually. Manually, they were counting the days. So they made rules, if they will catch rabbis announcing Rosh Chodesh, they'll execute them. The Gemara bring one of them that they did it, and they killed them with their spears with no mercy. Why they did all these rules? Because they wanted to interfere with the law of Judaism, that in a generation or two it will be destroyed. No matter how hard they tried, the Jews always survived, and all these bombastic empires were disappeared. God destroyed each one of them, the Greeks, the Babylonians, the Philistines, the Egyptians, the Romans, the Babylonians, all these big empires who occupied the world completely, each one of them at their turn. It's much bigger than United States and Russia today. United States and Russia are two big empires, but they don't even control half of the world. They have in some countries control. Some countries they can't even step there. So in other words, they don't have full control. The empires I'm talking about, the Greeks, they occupied the whole world. Alexandros Mokdon, the whole world they occupied. The Romans, the Babylonians, the Egypt, the whole world was depending on Egypt in a time of the starvation, as we read in the Torah. This was real empires, and they all got wiped out, and the tiny nation, the Jews, which at one point in history was only 500,000 people, the whole world, they always survived somehow after all the pogroms on the Holocaust, and they survived with the same Torah, the same laws, the same everything. The Jews saw everyone wanted to destroy him, everyone got destroyed, and the Jews is always floating above everyone. Is it something that can be coincidence? Of course not. Going into the Torah is the only book that have prophecies in it. You do not find one prophecy in the New Testament. You don't find one prophecy in the Quran, not even one. The Muslims scream, Prophet Muhammad, I'll make a deal with you. Point at one prophecy in the Quran, and don't show me parts in the Quran that he copied from Isaiah or Jeremiah or from the Torah. That's not a prophecy. I can also do that. Write a book and copy from Yirmiyahu or from Yeshaya. That's not a prophecy. his prophecies? Nothing. Why he did not write prophecy? He knew he's not a prophet. He knew. Well, in another 100 years, everyone would know I was a liar. They put my religion in the toilet. Why should I pretend that I'm a prophet? Everyone bow down to me as it is with my sword. Why do I have to pretend I'm a prophet? Just that you know, he had 4 wives in his days. Each one of them had already a different Quran in his own life. And he didn't know how to read and didn't know how to write. And that's the prophet of almost 1.5 billion people willing to die for him, which the books is full of human errors, many different texts. In his lifetime already, each one of his wives has a different book, and he never gave one prophecy in the world. And everything he achieved was with a sword. And same thing in what they do today in the world. Everyone is afraid of their violence, and that's why they're occupying parts of the world, because of the violence. If they were more civilized and not using violence and talking, what chance they have to present their case? Anything they bring from the Quran, it takes me 1 minute to destroy it right away in an argument. For instance, I want to ask you a question. What's the best document, not Jewish document, the best non-Jewish document in the world or in a history that support the ownership of the Jews of the land of Israel?
Quran.
The Quran. The Quran is the best proof for the Jews that Israel belongs to the Jews. You don't believe me? I'll show you the sources. I have them right here. I open a lecture. I can see it on my website. I show the sources. The Quran shows in many places that God say, Muhammad say to his followers in the name of Allah, which is the same God we believe in, that I gave the land to the Jews. They are the chosen people. I brought them to Israel. I saved them from the wicked people. If you have any doubt about your religion, Muhammad said to his followers, you have to go ask the Jews, because their book were more precise than our book. It's in the Quran, in the text. But of course, no Muslim say it to his followers in a mosque, because this is religion that is based on manipulation and what's convenient. Now they decide they want to kill the Jews for whatever reason, so they say it's mitzvah to kill the Jews. The Quran doesn't say such thing. They also teach it's mitzvah to steal from the Jews. The Quran doesn't say such thing. Doesn't say. Actually, Muhammad had, his best friend was a Jew, and he was the only one, he trusted him to leave his weapon by him. He even married a Jewish woman, unfortunately for her. But he married a Jewish woman. So whatever they tell the world is all a lie. Everything is lies. What the Indians are saying, they're all making it up. What Christians are saying is all lies. What Buddhists are saying is all based on a story of Buddha that nobody ever witnessed that. He claimed he saw the light. But what we are saying is backed up with thousands of historical documents and an event that no one was able to plant in history. Nobody can plant an event like the collapse of the Twin Towers. If in 1,000 years from now someone will read about it in a history, and he will read a book, history book, that 1,000 years ago 2 planes crashed into 2 buildings and 3,000 people died, and it shut down the United States airports for 48 hours, and they had to hide the president, and nobody knew what's happening. The market had to be shut up. They tell the whole tragedy that happened, even though people then would be hard for them to believe how a country like United States allowed people who didn't even know how to fly a plane, basically, didn't know how to land. They only learn how to take off, how they were so precise and crashed into the most 2 important building in the world, and how they were able to do such a thing when there's only 18 Arabs that basically had no military expert, not such big military expert like CIA agent or something. People who learn how to fly a plane and they crash, they were able to do such thing. It was very, very hard to believe. But no one can suspect that an event like this was planted in history. Why? I tell you why. Because if they follow the chronological order of all the history books, they go retroactive from 1,000 years into the future. They go 900 years, 800 years, 700, 600, 500, until they get to the generation of our generation. And they see that all the books from the time of the event until their times are saying the same story. Now, if I write a book today and I publish it and I change the story of the twins completely, what would happen?
I don't know, but you won't be the first one to do that.
No. Now, if I would change the details that we know, forget what we don't know. They claim that they know, there's conspiracies, the government did it, all kinds of nonsense that you hear. I'm talking from the way the whole world saw in the event. The twins are falling, everyone saw it in their own eyes. If I come and I say there were not 2 buildings, there was only 1 building that fell. It's a big change in the story. What would happen to my book? It will be criticized by thousands, right? Now, the Torah was given in front of millions of people. The Torah described more than 100 miracles that each one of them is against all odds. The Red Sea split, bread is falling from heaven, the Jews passed, the Egyptians drowned. There's so many miracles, the 10 plagues of Egypt. When millions of people receive it, and they see that all these stories appear in the divine book, claim to be a divine book, and they read about themselves, they are the actors in the movie that they just received the script of it. They are the actors in this movie, so they really know what happened to them in the last year, no? Who knows better than them? Moshe handed the book to the people who the book are speaking about. The Christians, they never gave a book to people who witnessed the events in the time of Jesse, because Jesse died between 70 to 300 years before Christianity started. There's different opinions. But even the most lenient opinion is at least 7 years after he died. No one saw him. It's 4 generations after. Father, son, and grandson after he died. So nobody really actually saw him. Everyone can make up any story they want. You have to believe or you don't believe. That's it. But over here, the receivers of the book now receiving a book live, and they open and they say, I'm the God that took you out of Egypt. So they say, I'm sorry, we've never been in Egypt. What is this? What Egypt? We live in Israel, Bechlal. Why Egypt? Moshe, I think you have a mistake here. Okay, all right, okay, you're right. We were in Egypt. But we never saw that we had to run out of Egypt in minutes, and the ocean split, and we went through an army of the Egyptians drowned. We don't remember all these events. We don't see bread falling from heaven every day. We don't see a whale is traveling with us, supplying us water in the desert. We didn't see all Egypt blood. We didn't see millions and billions of frogs in Egypt. We didn't see every firstborn in Egypt falling and dying. We were there, but we never saw it. What's all these stories? So it's enough that one of these stories were not authentic. One of them. Now, forget about the rest. One of them was not correct. Then Judaism can never start. It only can start if the people who receive the book admit and confirm all the details in this book are correct, therefore the book is divine. And the biggest thing is that they read inside the book, right now, that few minutes ago, they heard God and Moshe speaking live, and all of them heard. It's enough that one Jew would stand there and say, excuse me, Moshe, I never heard you speaking to God as the book say. It say all of us heard you speaking to God. I never heard. And that would be the end of Judaism. Because Moshe is coming. Look what confidence he has. He wrote the book in what God told him to write, right? He gave him now the book. Now, if Moshe knew he's a faker, if he knew God never gave him the book, he would be so foolish to write, all of you heard me and God speaking. Why Muhammad never wrote in the Quran, all of you saw the angel Gabriel gave me the Quran? Why he made the story that he was alone in a desert and no one was with him? Because he knew the story never happened. Why Mary came and say God came to him in a dream? Wouldn't it be a lot more convincing to say that God came to her in the middle of the day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a street in front of 200 witnesses? It would be a lot more convincing, no? Because after all, she cheated on her fiancé, her husband, Yosef, the carpenter, and he went out of town, and he come back, and he sees she's pregnant. And she tells him, oh, this boy will be the Messiah, he's a holy man. God came to me in a dream and made me pregnant, and I'm still a virgin. It would be a lot better to say, listen, you know what happened? It's all happened in front of 200 witnesses in the middle of the street. No, she had to do it in a dream because a dream cannot be proven. No one knows what happened in a dream. So you understand?
Like this, Mormon also, it's the same story. Upstate New York, somebody found a book and buried it in his backyard.
Same story. All 80,000 religions and cults, all of them started with the story of one man. And you know what's the best part? Who knows what's the best part? That the Torah predicted that. One of the prophecies in the Torah is that there will be many, many religions and cults starting in the future. But they will always start with the story of one person. Never will be a group of non-Jews coming to claim that God gave them a book. Always one individual. Where does it say it? It says it in the Torah. Kish'alna liyamim rishonim. Go check in the history. From the day Adam was created, from one side of the world to the other side of the world, did ever you can point in a group of people that claim that me, God, spoke to them or gave them anything? Your eyes saw that I spoke only to you in Mount Sinai and I gave you this Torah. No other group of people can ever claim that I spoke to them or gave them anything. No other group. I emphasize the word group. No group. Individual, they can claim as much as they want. I'm not worried. Because I told you in the Torah, everything that needs to be valid must have at least 2 kosher witnesses. Must have 2 kosher witnesses. If it doesn't have at least 2 witnesses, for sure you don't have to believe the story. So therefore, if God wanted to start a new religion, He would definitely never do it with a woman in her dream. Why? Even though we saw in the history that we have some female prophet like Devorah and others, but we saw that all the time, in the time of the Talmud, in the time of the prophets, in the time the dominants were all the men. And God mainly gave the Torah through Moshe. All the leaders were men. We never saw a woman that was a queen of Israel or anything like that. So we see over here that there is no chance that God came to a woman in a dream and told her whatever He told her, because there's not even one witness that can back up the story. Therefore, we are dismissed from it before it even started. Because according to the rule of the Torah, every testimony has to be with 2 witnesses. If I just say something and no one can back it up, I'm not even allowed to say it. If I saw a murderer and I'm the only witness and there's no second one, I'm not allowed to say my testimony. I only can say it if there's at least 1 more, or 5 more, or 10 more, but at least 1 more. If there's no 2 witnesses, they're not allowed to listen to a testimony of a 1 witness. It have to be at least 2, that they're not together, that they come from different places, and you investigate them separately and ask them a lot of questions and check that both testimonies are exactly the same. Because if one of them say the murder was 2 o'clock and one say it was 5 o'clock, then you know someone here is lying, or they both lying, they just did not agree on the time between them. But if you ask them 300 questions and all of them match, then you know 100% that the story really happened. So I just want to conclude this part of this talk, that we should know one thing. In Judaism is the only religion that any question you want to ask is permitted. You're allowed. You're allowed to ask, how do I know there is a God? How do I know God gave the Torah? How do I know the oral Torah is divine? How do I know the rabbis did not add to the Torah and modified it, and the Torah that we have today is different? It's not different than the Torah we had 3,300 years ago. How do I know all these rules are really divine? One by one. Any question a person wants to ask is allowed to ask. Why? In Christianity, you're not allowed to ask 1 question. In Islam, the same thing. You have to believe. That's the answer you're going to get. In Torah, open the Talmud here in front of you. Open the Talmud. Every page. Questions, answers. Questions, answers. Thousands of questions, thousands of answers. Every question is legit. Everything. How do I know we were in Egypt? How do I know this? How do I know that? Everything you want to ask, you're allowed to ask. Why? The Torah has the answers to everything. There's nothing to hide. When you don't have answers, you have to block the mouth of the people by saying you're not allowed to ask questions about faith. You just have to believe and that's it. That's what they answer. But by ask, that's not what God say. God say, I don't expect you to believe in me. I expect each one to know me, to know I'm your God, to know I'm controlling the world, to know your future is in my hand based on your actions, to know there is a choice to be righteous or to be wicked, to know I'm judging you. I judge you every day, I judge you once a year, I judge you when you die, and I judge you in the end of time, after all the worlds will end. Everything is in the Torah. Every question a person has, he can ask. So far, you have any questions about what I said? Please, now it's the time to ask. Or everything clear, even things that don't make sense. Whatever I said don't make sense to you, now please ask me, I'll answer. Everything clear?
How are you so confident with the Quran and all these...
How I confident? I learn it. I see what's inside.
With their scholars?
Yeah, well, you know, I want to tell you something. If I speak about something for so many years, I had a debate with a Christian priest for 3 hours. 3 hours about the New Testament. And the Christian priest tells me in the end, you put me in a hole, and a professor for Christianity, I don't know how I'm going to dig myself out of there. They don't have an answer. Few Christians were trying to answer my question. Their answer is below ridiculous. They have you see, they have such ignorance, they don't understand how the Torah works. So they give you answer, like for instance, when I told him that you started the New Testament proving that JC is a son of Joseph, that Joseph come from the family of King David, Joseph the carpenter. Why you tried to start the New Testament with this? Because Mashiach, the Messiah, has to be a grandson of King David, has to come from the family of King David. So therefore you try to link JC to King David, because you claim he's the Messiah. But then right after that, the next page, you write that JC is not really the son of Joseph. Joseph went out of town, and when he came back, Mary was pregnant, and they found out that she cheated on him, and she had to make up the story that God is the father. So I asked him, who's the mother of JC? He said, Miriam, Mary. So I said, who's the father? He said, God. I said, God is a grandson of King David? What, King David gave birth to God? He said, no. So why did you waste a page and a half to show the genealogy all the way from the King David to Joseph the carpenter, when right after that you take Joseph out of the story and you admit that he's not the biological father? So some of them say, well, he was an adopted son. So I answer, the Torah said that if your father is a Kohen and he adopts you, you're not a Kohen. Father is a Kohen, he adopts a boy, convert him, whatever you want, or even if he was Jewish from birth. Just before because the father is a Kohen, even Kohen Gadol, the boy is not a Kohen, he's an adopted boy. Or also the Torah says Zera David HaMelech. Zera, it didn't say son of David HaMelech, it says Zera, means the actual seed of David HaMelech, to avoid any doubt that he's actually talking about a biological son. Plus, one Christian was trying to say, so maybe Mary was the granddaughter of, is maybe a grandson of King David from Mary. Two problems. One, if that was the case, why you did not try to describe the genealogy of Mary? Why Joseph? Why Joseph? Joseph, you admit, Joseph is not the father. No, so they say that you try to say, Miriam, why there's not even one word about Miriam? And even if there was a word about Miriam, since when we go by the mother? Always go by the father. If your mother is Kohen, you're not a Kohen. Your mother Levi, you're not a Levi. Only the father. That's what it is. So what's going on here? So what's happening right here now, it says, Lemishpechotam lebet avotam. This is the best two answer they were trying to give. Now they don't have an answer. And I think if a person is intelligent, all it needs is to see this mistake right away, to know this religion is not divine. Not to talk about the 50 other mistakes that I show him. But I want to tell you something. I want to read to you something here. It's very interesting. It says like this. Today it's very difficult. It's very difficult for people to change something that they believe in. In other words, if a person already reached a conclusion in his mind, right, it's very difficult to prove him wrong. When Albert Einstein came out with his discovery, every scientist who examined everything he wrote came to the same conclusion. For 7 years, not one scientist agreed to admit we were all wrong. Einstein's right. Everyone said impossible. Impossible. They put in the garbage. They got angry. Like the chutzpah he has, the nerve he has. He come and change everything we believed in the last 2,000 years. Until 7 years later, they started to digest in their mind that really there's nothing we can do to contradict his discoveries. I want to read to you something. It says like this. It's Sir Francis Bacon, the founder of the modern scientific method of, listen what he writes, it's called confirmation bias. This is what he wrote. When the human intelligence is adopting an opinion, you reach a conclusion in your mind, you will search for every piece of information to back up his opinion. And will right away adopt it and agree with that easily, without double checking. Oh, that's what I believe, right away use it for his lecture, the next lecture. Even though there will be plenty of evidence against those proofs, supposedly, he would prefer to ignore and make fun of them, to forget them, to postpone them, and remove them from his way. His original conclusion will dye everything in his own color. So if you reach the color blue, it's like having a bucket full of blue. Everything else you put in, it will turn into blue. Why? You're not open for other colors. Your mind is in this direction. People turning to look for information that will confirm their assumption and their belief, that will interpret science according to their own understanding, and will disregard evidence that contradicting their faith. They will forget everything that does not comply with their understandings, and it will gain full confidence and extremism. How do you say extremism? Extremism. That's a hard word. Yeah, no, to be extreme, to the extremist way, right? Right, to false beliefs, even imaginations, things that comes from imagination, they'll use as a proof. You know, and that's what's happening. Now, this is his conclusion. It says, searching for evidence to back up your belief, it's not a negative thing. But when it comes on the expense, on the attention to other proofs who contradict your belief, you choose this and you ignore that completely, then you're not an honest person. For sure, you cannot be a scientist, you cannot be a religious leader, you cannot even be a politician. You basically cannot be in control. You're dangerous for society. If you're a leader, that you're affecting life of thousands or life of millions, and you have X amount of opinions, and the experts are showing you that you will bring us to destruction, to annihilation, to tragedies, and they show you evidence, and you don't even check the evidence, you're a criminal. Same thing over here. When I come and I show a person that the book of his religion has human errors, so there are different kinds of response. Some say, wow, I'm shocked. It's very rare. Wow, I'm shocked, I didn't know it. I wish I knew it 20 years ago. And what would happen? Tomorrow they leave the church. Baruch Hashem, I have a few hundreds like this that did it. Most of the people starting to make excuses. As foolish as they are, it doesn't really matter. It's their natural reaction. Oh, it's this, maybe it's that. I'm sure my priest can answer it. They get, and you continue to wait. One woman from England, very intelligent woman, she started to send me emails about it. And I answered her. And she said, okay, let me go to my priest and I'll get back with the answers to you, because she realized that it's a serious problem. So I wrote to her, I promise you that your priest will not be able to answer even one of these questions. Don't even waste your time. But if you want to check it your way, I'll wait 2 weeks. I'm waiting already 2 years. And few times she wrote, a month later, 3 months later, I didn't forget about you. I'm waiting for my priest to get back to me. And I was rolling on bed, laughing. The priest cannot get back to her, even if he will be the #1 brilliant brain in the world. He represent a defected product. You can be the best driver in the world, and they give you Mercedes without an engine. Can you win the race? It doesn't have an engine. Or it doesn't have one sensor it doesn't have. That's it. The car cannot start, cannot drive, can choke. It can be a $20 sensor. The car doesn't drive. The religion has problematic approach. It has a lot of human errors. And Baruch Hashem, we don't have that. The Torah is full of prophecies. There is tons of information in the Torah that leaves no doubt that only the Creator of the world was able to write it. The Torah did not try to be nice in the eyes of the readers. The opposite. The Torah gave us all the reasons to be angry at the writer of the book. Even the writer of the book, Moshe, testified by himself that he got punished, he did not enter the land, he was stuttering, and many other derogatory things about his life. He would be much better off to make himself look like a Superman, just like the Muslim describe Muhammad or the Christian describe JC. You never find any comment against them, ever. These people never made mistake. They are superheroes. Unfortunately, today we have Jews that are like that also. They take a holy rabbi and they made him God. And they begin to describe him very similar to the way they do with their idols. And it's very, very dangerous today, because today it's only starting now, and 100 years from now, who knows what it's going to turn to. Because every generation will add more and more to the story, more and more and more, until one day it's going to be a new religion. Wow, full of things. That's what happened. Okay, so now one more thing here. It says like this. There is something that called fear and imagination. This is two powers in the world that affect the actions of a person. Sometimes they link together. Sometimes the imagination creates false fears. One way or the other, whether the fear is based on real, authentic pieces of information, or whether it's based on a total illusion, it makes people behave according to that what fear caused them to do. So let me give you an example. The Chazal, our sages, they say that sometimes when a person fears things that are not in existence, he's imagining things. So that really brings him tragedies that were not supposed to come to him. Let me give you an example. Everybody know about evil eye. I made a whole lecture now in Toronto, in Canada, last week about evil eye.
You know the audio goes out. The sound goes out in the middle of the lecture.
What, is it completely in the middle, or?
It comes in and it goes out. It comes in and it goes out.
And what after it continues?
I don't know. At about 32 minutes in, at like 23 minutes in, it went out, and then it came back, and then it went out again. And I just.
Well, double check that. Sometimes this Bluetooth, as you can see, has interference with cellular phones and Bluetooths and other things in the building, and it happens. The advantage of it is that it only hears me, and if people make noise, doors are open, cell phones, it doesn't hear it in the recording. If you eliminate the Bluetooth, then it hears the air and it hears noise and cars and everything around. It makes the listening not clean. One way or the other, there's always a problem. But it says like this. So many people now today live with constant fear from evil eye. Constant fear. every person that they wants to invite, they worry 100 times if to invite them to their house or not. Wow, he's going to see we bought a new chandelier, she's going to make evil eye, they have a new baby, they're afraid to invite the uncle and the cousin, and if they have a car, they park it 5 blocks away, because they don't want this jealous person to see it. And even though evil eye has a source in the Torah, which means it's something that it's real, that a person can really make evil eye to another person, the same Torah says that if you don't pay attention to it and you don't get paranoid from it, it won't touch you. So actually we have something very interesting here. There are all kinds of energies, some of them are negatives in our life, that can affect us very bad. But the only way they're affecting us very bad is if we pay too much attention to them. Now I want each one of you to think for a second and tell me, how does it even make sense, what I just said? I'll prove to you in a minute, but let's use our logic. Just because a person is afraid of evil eye, the evil eye will touch him and his car is going to have an accident one day or something like that. What is the connection, what you're afraid of and what you're not? How does it change reality?
When a person makes evil eye, we know that they're constantly doing courts upstairs.
Right.
They're always doing courts. There's always, it's like a docket number 4275, and you have your angel is going and praying, and the other angel is going and saying, you know, Mr. So-and-so is jealous of Mr. So-and-so. If the original person who's gotten the ayin hara, got the ayin hara, and he did something bad, then that deen will come on against the person. That's why people are freaked out.
Yeah, but the point is, we have a Torah with reward and punishments, with recommendations what to do, what not to do.
Right.
Now, how you fit between what Hashem say to do or not to do, and the reward and the punishment system, right, which is a justice system, how all of a sudden come an evil eye which threatening the entire balance of the Torah? Think about it. If an evil eye...
Don't count my people. Don't count. Don't count. Why? Why did the Torah say not to count?
So I'm asking you, no, don't count on the people. It's a different kind of ayin hara. It's a different kind. I'm not talking about the person who should not count. I'm talking about the people who are doing things to avoid ayin hara on themselves. And they live with constant fear from ayin hara. Because they live with this fear, it counts to them. That's what I'm saying. We have proofs in the Tanakh that when a person thinks that something bad is about to happen to him, it increases the chance that this something will happen to him by thousands of %. It's increased it. I can tell you from experience that every time I'm thinking about something, I hope this is not going to happen to me, a minute later it happens. You know, I was driving to Rye, New York. Rye, New York, it was Monday. It was Monday exactly 10 days ago. I was 6-ish. I'm driving on the left lane, and I'm thinking to myself, I have like a vision that, I said to myself, maybe I'm a little bit speeding. I was in a rush. Before I realize I'm busy with my niece, my dad, every second a telephone, maybe a police will be behind me and I won't realize. Not even 30 seconds later, I see a police is attached to me, is almost hitting me in the back, like this. So I looked, I said, I'm at least 10 faster than the speed limit. 55, I'm at least 67, 68. Right away I moved to the right lane. He's drive about a minute parallel to me and looking at me with an angry face. So I'm thinking to myself, what is he angry? That I was driving a little faster in such a wide highway? There wasn't so much traffic. He's angry that I had the nerve not to move to the right when I saw him coming, but I really didn't see him. I was busy with everything in my car, and all of a sudden, not even a minute after, whatever I was thinking, all of a sudden he showed up. It was probably zooming that he arrived to me, because when I thought about it, I looked in the mirror, no one was behind me. It's a big open highway. And 30 seconds later, he's already attached to my tail. So the question is, what really happened here? Did I have Ruach HaKodesh to see it coming, like a little prophecy? Or because I fear that, he came? That's the question. Huh? What do you think? So I tell you what. The book of Eov was a prophet. The book of Eov chapter 3, verse 25. He says, כי פחוד פחדתי ויעתיני, ואשר יגורתי יבוא לי. Clear verse. With verses we don't argue. It's very clear. What I'm afraid of is coming to me. My fear is rushing to come to me. Whatever I fear, right away comes right after to me. So the Maharal, he gave a beautiful parable about this verse. It says like this: if a person has a piece of wood, 2x4, if he puts it on the floor and he has to walk on it, not to fall to the floor, it's not such a hard thing, no? You walk on a 2x4, you come, I don't know how many, 6 feet. So you walk, and you go, and you're not falling. You balance 2x4. It's pretty wide. But if the 2x4 it's between two roofs of a building, 100 flights, and now you have the 2x4, how many people would be able to walk over it? 1 to 1,000, not even. But on the floor, 999 would make it. One maybe will lose balance. Maybe had a little bit too much whiskey, you know. But when it's all over there in the sky, no one almost can do it. Why is it? Because now the person is fearing, before he gets on a stick, he's fearing to fall. Because he fears to fall, he can function. We see that this imagination and fear, how it's affecting the action of a person. So now, if you remember a few years ago, there was a big noise on the media, on YouTube, everywhere you go, they call it the secret. You heard about it or no? Secret, the secret, the secret. They make probably millions or billions, who knows, the book, the movie, whatever. And they sold the public one concept. That whatever you believe in, if you really believe in it, you'll get it. You believe you'll be Bill Gates, you'll be Bill Gates. You believe you'll be Superman, you'll be Superman. And they started to bring on the media someone who thought, I'm buying this lottery ticket and I'm going to win, and I'm going to win, and I won. They brought a few people and they made big publicity. Usually it's always the public relation that comes, that build the case to fool the people. And everyone fell into that. Think positive, that's the idea. Think positive. Think positive. That reminds me a little bit about the Hasidish concept. Always to be besimcha. Be tamid mitzvah gdola liot besimcha. It's true. Torah say you have to be in simcha. Yeah. Torah say that a Jew always have to be in simcha, not to be depressed. If a prophet is depressed, he loses prophecy. You know, if a person Hashem is close to him, once he becomes depressed and upset, Hashem runs away from him. There's no secret. The Hasidim is only 200 years old. This is from the time of the Torah, 3,000 years before Baal Shem Tov was born. So it's not an invention of the Hasidim. However, the Hasidim emphasize almost everything about that point. Until it gets to a point that they twisted a little bit the truth. Let me explain what I mean before you jump on me. That's the idea. Very good. He made a good point, and he's a Hasid. So it's good. I'm glad that I'm saying it in front of you and not behind your back. But I say this like this. Look. Everything they say to be besimcha, they are 100% right. Like I said, the Torah spoke about it. The problem is that today you find books that they write that they tell the biggest sinners in the world, as long as you're in simcha, nothing bad will happen to you. You're good. You make sure always to be besimcha. What's the impression that these people get? I smoke a little bit, you know. I buy from Vini across the street something, some stuff. I smoke, I drink. I'll be besimcha. Everything good. What's to worry about Chilul Shabbos? What's to worry that I live with Christine? Why worry that I eat shrimps for breakfast and pork for lunch? Why worry? העיקר להיות בשמחה. To be happy, happy, happy. Beloni, what simcha? If you're a murderer, you can be in simcha. If you're Mechaled Shabbos, you can be in simcha. What simcha? You live in illusion. What simcha? A person is on the way to execution, can be in simcha? If he's in simcha, that means he's mentally retarded. If a person is on the way to execution and he's dancing, something is not right about him. Unless, if he knows he goes to heaven. Yeah. Like in the Holocaust, when the Nazis used to kill the people in the gas chambers, there was a whole yeshiva that they take into the gas chambers together. They're all standing naked now, getting ready to go in. So the Nazis told them, make sure you hang your clothes on the hooks, and every hook has a number. And when you go out from the showers, even though they see smoke coming from these towers, when you go out from the showers, you remember what number your clothes were hanging on. That's how they used to mentally confuse them. So one guy, this is kids right after bar mitzvah, 14 years old, something like that, 9th grade. So they said, one of them said to them, come on, we all know nobody ever comes out of there. Look at the sky, smell the smell. If we have to die, and they took the parochet right here, and the parochet has, זה השער להשם, צדיקים יבואו בו. This is the gate to Hashem. Only the righteous people can climb up here. This is the verse. זה השער להשם, צדיקים יבואו בו. So usually we write it on a parochet, and they took it from one of the synagogues and they put it in a door to go into the gas chambers, to make fun at the Jews. Look at you, tzaddikim. This is the gate to the fire. Only the righteous Jews are coming in, right? So the guy said to all of his friends, since we have to die, they can kill our body, but they can never kill our soul. We go to be with Hashem now. Why are we so upset? Let's start singing and dancing. So, everyone looks at him like, Mishugine, what's this now dancing? We're going to get burned in a few minutes. So he cheered them all up. Kadima, why do you like this? You have to be happy. We do it for Hashem Shamayim. We die in Kiddush Hashem. So they all started to dance. Really dancing. And the Nazi never saw such a thing. So the soldier comes, cut it out. They ignore him. What can be? He's going to shoot us. What's the difference? Shooting, gas. They continue, they sing even louder. He called his commander, he called another one, they called the head of the place. They're all speaking there, they don't know what's going on, until the big general came and said, stop it, tell me what's going on here. So I told him, you think that you're destroying us, you're killing us, you think you're scaring us. You're doing us a favor. We want to go to heaven already. This is what we live for all our life. What do you think we learn Torah for? We pray every day for the moment we die, but we're not allowed to kill ourselves. So you're doing us a favor. What's in this life anyway?
Thank you.
That's what he told him. So the Germans say, oh yeah? I'll teach you. Go, all of you get dressed, you're not going to die today. A third of them survived after the war. So the rest died later. But a third made it to the war. So they're already considered dead already, on the line to the dead row. It's the dead row to the gas chambers. So they survive. So this is an example of very high-level righteous people that realize what life is and what death is. And I'm not talking about this. I'm talking now a person that knows that everything in his life is messed up. What is he going to be happy about? If he keep all the laws, all the mitzvot, at least he knows he have life of eternity when he die, he has a share to the world to come, so he doesn't make money, he still didn't find his wife yet. There's many upsetting things. Comes the Torah and say, be happy. Hashem knows what he's doing. It's for your own good. Maybe you made sins in the past, I'm paying you now instead of paying you later. Find the good in what I do. That means be in simcha. But the Torah never meant that someone who doesn't keep the covenant with Hashem and spit in his face every day of his life should be happy about it. If ever, he should pull his hair off and cry non-stop. That's what we do on Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur, the Torah didn't say to be in simcha. The Torah said to cry and to fast and not to touch your wife and not to put cream and perfume. Why? Because we mourn for our crimes. So if a person is, all his life is a crime, what reason he has to be happy about? What? Does he eat steak? That he drives a nice car? What? This is all temporary illusions. So therefore, sometimes they come to secular people and they plant in their head the very dangerous idea that just because you're Jewish, you go to heaven. There's no source in the Torah to such nonsense. The opposite. The Torah is so clear that only the righteous people make it to heaven. Only. And the Gemara say heaven is very small and the other places are huge. Most people are wicked, not righteous. So if a person is very happy, listens to music all day, go to Harlem, see how they're all dancing all day there on the streets, that with a big tape. So what, they go to heaven because they're happy? 2 minutes ago he shot somebody in the head, a minute later he sold 100 pounds of cocaine and heroin, and they shoot and they have guns and whatever they do with some people. He's going like this with his music, so that means he's going to go to heaven? Well, what is this?
Well, why is that comparison not relevant to us? This kind of people on the street?
First of all, I have news for you.
Why are you bringing
Every
it up?
non-Jew has heaven and hell. And every Jew has it. So when a person has to be happy, if happiness is the key to heaven, it's the key to heaven for everyone. I'm saying it's important to be happy, and it's important when a person is sad, to be sad for the right thing. Not because he lost a little money in the stock market. Not because he what people are sad about today, it's really positive things for them. Positive. I'll give you an example. A person go on a date. Beautiful girl. But very materialistic. Very shallow. Very low spirituality. Horrible modesty level. You can see that this girl in spirituality is like heaven and earth. But he, however, is down to earth, modest, very spiritual, very sophisticated mind, learn a lot, read a lot, not a show-off, doesn't need material toys to make him happy. Two different ideologies completely, two different levels. But he loves her beauty very much. So he wants her. That's what the Torah says, Sheker achen ve'evel hayofi, that he blinds the men. And he see the beauty of a woman, and he basically forget the 90% that he has to check. He just focus on one of the things, and everything else is not relevant anymore. And that's what bury many people. But it's not only by women, it's also by cars like that. A person goes to the auction, if you see a beautiful, shiny car, clean, he doesn't think, 2 minutes ago they detailed the car for $50, they made it brand new, they put, but the engine is all smoking. Happened to me twice, I'm speaking from experience. Look at this car, it smells like in a dealership. 2 minutes later, all the neighborhood smoke. I used to put 3 coats of oil a day. So what happened? You check the beauty of the outside. That's what Chazal say. Al tistakel bakankan. Don't look at the pot from the outside. It's scratchy, a little dirty. Look what's inside. The water clean or not? That's what's important. So now if the girl doesn't want him, for 3 months he's depressed. Cool, Moshe, get up. Why are you not coming to learn? She broke my heart. Now he's crying, he's upset. They're offering him dates he doesn't want. Now, let's think logically. What is he crying about? Can he hold the Sefer Torah and swear that he lost by not going with his girl? There's a much higher chance that he won not getting her. It's actually saving his life. So why is killing himself for 3 months in bed? All day doesn't want to do anything. All day sleeping, not eating, depressed, taking medication. Why? He's crying for something he doesn't even know it's bad. I have a guy like this now. He went out on a date, with he's a big doctor, but very down to earth. Like really a nice person, religious, but tshuva. And the girl could be a nice girl, I don't know her, but very materialistic. She came from Europe, very fancy lifestyle. So even though he makes a lot of money, because he's a very good doctor, but he doesn't like to live flashy life. So in other words, if you tell him now, let's get married, he will get himself a nice small apartment. He's not going to want a mansion where she wants to live. He will drive a simple Toyota, whatever, but she would like the best Lexus or Mercedes. There's big differences the way they look at life, So they dated for almost a year. he wanted already to marry her, but she's not happy with the lifestyle standards that he lives in. So she broke up with him. She had it with him. So now I went to a lecture. So I called him up one day. I tell him, listen, I have a great shidduch for you. Really a great shidduch for him. Also another doctor, a little younger than him, very religious. So I thought it's perfect match. So he said, well, I have to tell you the truth. My mind is not clear. I can't go on another date now. Can't go on dates. I said to him, listen, you're not 21 years old. You know, you're getting older. You have to take care of yourself. He said, no, but I tell you what, I tried it once. I went on a date. It wasn't fair for the girl, he said to me. I can't go on a date. So I can't focus on a new girl. My mind is on her. I was so curious to see who this girl, that after he tells me that she's so materialistic and that she wants this and she wants that, who is she? Next day, I go to a lecture. A very fancy place, $30 million house, in a very expensive place. After that lecture, a real fancy girl comes to me. Can I speak to you? She's speaking to me and she's telling me, you know, I was almost engaged, this and that. The girl I was dying to see who she is comes to me in another town, complete different place, without planning. Hashem sent her to me express. So I speak into her. Now, I tell her things, she thinks I'm the Baba Sali or something. you know, like how does he know I came from Europe? How does he know I'm materialistic? How does he know this? How does he know that? You know. So in the end, maybe I'll be able. Listen, I don't think it's a good shidduch. But if the guy is so broken and he wants to learn in a hard way, the Torah says, "Bederech she'adam rotze lilech, molichim oto." The way that a person chooses to walk, the path that he chooses, Hashem walks him through, even if it's negative for him. A person wants to walk on Shabbat. Who gives them oxygen to breathe when he walks on Shabbat? Hashem is against his work. He doesn't want him to open his business on Shabbat. It's against the law. Why Hashem doesn't choke him? Why Hashem didn't make the world that as soon as he comes out of his house, Shabbat morning, and he grabs the car key to start his car, he gets a temporary stroke for 25 hours. He wake up, what is it? Saturday night? Why Hashem didn't make the world like this? Why? Or every person who wants now to say, you know, I wish I had $1 million, I will open a yeshiva. 2 minutes later, he gets $1 million. He wants to do something good, give him. Why the world is not like that? Because the world could be like that if there was no test. If Hashem doesn't test us, then what's the point? Let everyone enjoy. But if it's a place of a test, if everyone will come to violate the rule, will get right away interference from Hashem, and he would pause him with his remote control, that means we all become robots. A robot doesn't get tested. If I move the robot with my remote control, make 5 steps forward, then I turn him to the right, make 4 steps to the right, turn to the left, he fell down the stairs. So I pick up the robot. You fool! Why are you falling from the stairs? Now you broke your arm. I have to now spend $100 to fix you. Now imagine if somebody looked at me, that I move him, and then I hit him. They call 911, there's a dangerous lunatic here. Right. So now, by us saying that we want Hashem to retaliate to everything we do immediately, good or bad, is actually we want Hashem to be worse than this lunatic. Because if I'm gonna light the fire on Shabbat, and a minute before I do it, Hashem is gonna pause me. Then in the end of my life, what reason He has to give me a reward and to send me to heaven if I never did one thing on my own? He did everything for me. If you're the teacher, and you give the answers to the questions, to the test, to all your students all the time. So one of the students will tell you, excuse me, professor, why are you so dumb? Why are you making us tests? Don't do the test. Don't be dumb. You give us a test. Let us answer the questions on our own. You want to give us the answer? What's the purpose of making a test? Anyway, you give us the answer. Same thing we would have to say to Hashem. You put me here. Everything good I do, you reward me right away. Everything bad I do, you punish me right away. Of course no one would make sins. Who wants to make a sin? If I see a person light a cigarette on Shabbat, boom, explosion. 5,000 pieces smeared all over. I say, wow, this cigarette is explosive. Then somebody take a different brand of cigarette. Boom, explode on Shabbat. No one would be mechalel Shabbat. Everyone say, Moshe, come, let's go somewhere. Shh. Shabbat started 2 minutes ago, don't move. Everyone would be like this on Shabbat. Come, let's eat. No, I don't want to take a risk. By mistake, I explode. So everyone, as soon as Shabbat comes, Jews, non-Jews, everyone would stay like this. No one would move because they already saw a few incidents that people violated Shabbat, they explode. So nobody wants to move. One person asked me last week, how do you expect me to close the business on Shabbat? It's the hardest day of the week. So I told him, what do you expect, that it will be the slowest day of the week? Hashem wants all Jews to close their businesses and be in a shul on Shabbat. Singing, praying, eating chulen, not only Thursday night. Shabbat. So if he would make Shabbat the slowest day of the week, what reward they deserve for closing the store? Anyway, there's no business. Even without Shabbat, they'll close the business. If they know every Shabbat is the slowest day of the week, nobody comes. They close it. I was in Toronto last week, so I passed by an ice cream, yogurt, frozen yogurt store. And it was a very heavy rain, like today here. That's how it was, cool and rain. And it was in the afternoon, and the place was closed. So I asked the guy, oh, they're out of business? He said, no, it's a busy store. So I said to him, but why it's closed in the middle of the day? So he looks at me. What normal person would come to eat frozen yogurt in such a storm? So the owner of the store is smart. I'll be there all day, 3 people would come to me. The electric would cost more than the profit. So he closed the store. Same thing over here. If every Shabbat would be dead, nobody would want to open the business. Everyone would want to, rest on Shabbat. So Hashem makes Shabbat a very busy day for business. To see if you trust Him or not. If the parnasah comes from Him or from the store. If you think you make your money, you have a very serious problem. You're violating the rules of the Torah. And if you are basically understanding that Hashem is the one who supplies you with all the money, all the parnasah you make, then you don't eat your heart, and you're very satisfied with your choices and everything. Now I want to ask you, before we finish, and then I give you some time for questions, I want to ask you a question. There are a few things in our life that actually happens to us almost every day. Not all of them, but let me tell you. Who can tell me what's the difference between hallucination, illusion, and delusion? That's hard even for American. And needless to say, מה ההבדל בין הזיה, אשליה ומחשבת שווא?
Hallucination is something that a person sees that doesn't exist, that no one else sees. An illusion is a false belief. They believe something to be true when it's not true.
False belief or false feeling?
Magician does an illusion, the whole crowd sees it. A hallucination, only the individual sees it.
Think. You have time.
Oh, an illusion, it's the opposite of hallucination in a way. It's the opposite appearance. Hallucination only you see. Illusion everybody can see. You can show illusion to the public.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
A person has an illusion, nobody sees it, only he sees it.
Yeah, that's right.
And plus, are we talking about illusion in the mind, or it's illusion in the senses of the body? What really is an illusion is? So like I said, we will finish with that, but now you have to concentrate for 3-4 minutes that you understand what I'm talking about. Let's start with hallucinations. Hallucination, it's not something that happens in the body. It's not coming through the five senses. It's vision, false vision that does not exist, that only a specific person hallucinate right now and think that he see those things. It's very similar, to a dream. He think it's like a dream, but you are awake. He think that he hear voices, he hear someone speaking to him, he see an image, sometimes he even smell that doesn't exist. So that's very interesting. This is something that really doesn't exist, but in the mind of a person is 100% sure that it happened to him. And if you connect him to a lie detector, he will pass the test easily, because he's not lying according to his mind. Sometimes the power of hallucination can change the personality of the person, and sometimes it can be presented as a revelation, as a religious event, like he thinks he spoke to a prophet, or he saw God, or certain things like that, or he saw JC, like some of the Christian claim, JC came to me, all kinds of things like that. Sometimes he can imagine that he see a UFO, something from out of space, out of this world. We have to know there's a difference between hallucination to illusion. Illusion is the five senses are feeling something, but we get the wrong feeling. This is an illusion. You're not hallucinating, you're illusionizing. That's the right word? Illusionizing? What's the word for it? Not hallucinating.
You're sensing?
You're sensing. Okay, you're sensing a feeling that it's all imagination, similar also like a dream, but no, I'm sorry. The dream is what I said before, hallucination, so let's not get confused. The illusion is different because it does affect the five senses. It's something that we get from the five senses, but we get the wrong conclusion. So it means through the five senses, we actually see something that it's incorrect. All right, but something exists, but the way we see it is different than what the reality is. When hallucination doesn't exist at all. And what's delusion? Delusion is that a person lives in constant fear from nothing. He thinks people run after him. All the times he's worried, he's hiding, he's shaking, his pulse, he's nervous, he's sweating, he's with constant fear. Or the other way around. He lives with feelings that he's a prophet, that he's the divine person, that he's going to save the world, which is very interesting. The difference between illusion and delusion is also in how long it can take. Usually in illusion it's something short. A person has an illusion, it can take an hour, it can take something like that, and it's over. When yet a person that lives in delusion, it can be all his life. Maybe it's similar to schizophrenics and things, that they see things and they always live in a fear that somebody comes to kill them. So there are different things. Basically, all three of them is serious danger to the life of a person. However, let's just focus on the religious illusion. Today, a person may go to somebody that looks like a rabbi to him or a holy person, and he develops high expectation in him based on stories that he heard, or that holy person contribute to the show by closing his eyes and have a long white beard and a turban, and many people serve him, and he build around himself such a holy presentation around him. And therefore, the people develop high expectation in him and will be willing even to give him a huge amount of money, especially if they are in a need, if they have a problem, if they have a sickness, or they have something in their family, or anything like that. So they develop an illusion that if this person touched them or something like that, basically cures them, and they can control them, or he reads their mind. So what happened? The more they develop these illusions towards him, when they one day open up their eyes from these illusions, the pain and the crush that they're going to have will be devastating. Some people are very rational. My recommendation to everyone, I always say it to my listeners all the time, and I know some people don't like to hear it, and I know even some people are really doing their best to force me to stop saying it, but I always say what the truth is. I don't really decide what to say based on how popular it is, because when you're a politician, you have to say what people want to hear if you want to get elected. It's a lie, it's false, but politics is all corruption. I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to have millions of voters or supporters or followers, and then I come in front of Hashem and He bury me in hell for eternity for misleading the people. So therefore, last week I gave a lecture 2 weeks ago, and I wrote a research that the American private company investigated the results of colleges in United States, and they came to the conclusion. I think you were in that lecture, no? You came in Queens?
I was, but I also saw it online. 85%.
You say 85%. Thank you for backing me up. 85% of Americans who goes to colleges is a total waste of money and time. They waste more than $100,000. Most of them take it on student loans, and most of them are devastated. When they finish college, they're up to here with student loans. They can't find any job in their field, and many of them don't even want to work in what they graduate in. So they have to go and find another job, which in reality, what good was all these 4, 5, 10 years that they learned? In reality, it didn't get them anywhere. The colleges always like to show that 15%, they always show the 15% who became very successful. The big psychiatrists, and the big doctors, and the big lawyers, and the chairman, and the accountant, and all the rest. But they don't show the 85% of the people who either dropped out in the middle, or ended up with nothing, and they make less than a taxi driver who doesn't have any education. So I read that article. It wasn't my discovery. It's a private company that got paid to investigate, and they came with their statistic. I always knew that that's the statistic based on my common sense. Why? So many hundreds of people talk to me every month, and I see a lot of them finish college and they don't know what to do with their life. They're up to here with student loans, and many of them drop a year or two before because they ran out of money. Even with the student loan, they don't know how they're going to pay it. They need another $90,000. They're already stuck with $100,000, and they don't know what to do anymore. So I see what's happening in this country. I see, you know what, if for every 100 people only 15 make it, what kind of investment is that? It's a very bad investment. Every person who's about to invest $200,000 in a store, and they show him the statistic that the chance to succeed in this business is only 15%, has to be completely foolish to put $200,000 investment with a 15% chance to succeed. Better to go to the stock market. Play blackjack. You already have higher chance than 15% with this money. And it's going to be in minutes. You don't have to work 5 years. You can either double your money in an hour or lose it. Why wasting 4 years when your chance to lose your money it's 85% and there's so much depression and aggravation? So one person called me today and he said to me, I think you're making a big mistake by saying it in a lecture. Why? It's good that people will get education, they go to colleges, and what's better that they're going to come out of yeshiva and they're not going to have any education, they don't have a degree, they can't get a job. So I told him, I don't understand you. If you see already professionals proving that it's much worse than good, it has a lot bad more than a good. So my job is to save the Jews from being devastated. So if from every 100 people I make 85 happy by saving them, and 15% actually it would be better off for them to go. So I'm doing good or bad? I go, the Torah say, you follow the majority. I have to warn all these people. If somebody wants to still go, nobody stop him. I'm not telling him that I'm going to punish him or something like this. He can still do whatever he wants. So he brought up to me something. He said to me, it's not about the college. And it's also the education is not important. You're right. In the end, we agree on that. He told me the degree. You can't get even a simple job in this country without a degree. He said to me, you think people want to go and sit 4 years to learn? They need a degree. Any job you would want, they ask you if you have a degree. So I told him, you can get a degree by going to yeshiva. There are a few good yeshivot here. You can go there, you sit and learn 3 years Torah. One day you'll be a rabbi. And while you're there, they give you credits. So you can get your degree, 125 points. When you finish 3 years in yeshiva, they send you to 5 short courses. Within a month, you get 90% from Torah scholar as learning. And then the 30 or 35 that you're missing, they send you to 5 courses. You complete what you didn't learn in yeshiva, and you get your degree. So that's one option. The second option is if the government, which is together with the colleges, if the government will realize that people discovering the scam, they're not so foolish anymore, and less people would go to colleges, they will have to make an adjustment. So there's 2 possibilities. Either they'll shorten the college, because they can teach you the same thing they teach you in 7 years, in a year and a half maximum, so if they really want. Because many of the things you learn, it's not necessary. You want to be a doctor, why do you need to learn history? There's things that are not relevant. You want to be a mathematician, focus on math. You want to be a physician, you want to be a computer expert, learn computers. Everything that is not relevant, there's no point of learning. Even in medicine, now you have to decide what kind of doctor you want to be. And you have to teach you only what you're going to need for this profession of yours. You want to be an accountant, you have to be in numbers. So in other words, all the general studying, it's not necessary. If he wants to be educated, let him learn it on his free time in Google. Doesn't need to sit 7 years in school. So the idea is that they will make it shorter, and will make it cheaper, because it's not going to be that many years. So therefore, if it will be 2 years instead of 7, why not? Okay, that's realistic. You finish high school, by age 20, 21, you can already be a doctor, you can be already an engineer, you can do something. That's fine. Or, that's one way. The other way is that the companies would see that for every 100 people that comes to an interview, 90 of them don't have a degree. Because they already discovered the scheme of the government. They don't want to go to college. They say, whatever happened, I'll be a taxi driver. I don't need to waste 7 years to make the same salary of a taxi driver or a butcher. Same salary. Just because I'm educated, what does it give me? So therefore, the company will be forced to take people without degree. They will interview them. They'll redesign the interview. They'll ask them lots of questions of intelligence. And they see that some brilliant people don't have a degree, but they're very smart and sharp people. So they will hire them without a degree. And that's what would force the government and the colleges to make the change. As long as the people continue to walk like the Jews went, unfortunately, without a fight into the gas chambers, if the Jews would make a war, what do they have to lose? They get killed anyway. They saw that everyone who goes does not return. They had to start screaming, at least the rabbis who were standing there, let's fight to the end. They'll shoot us, fine. We'll die anyway. But we take another 100,000 Nazis with us to the gas chambers. Maybe they'll think again next time when they come to collect us. Because they know it's risky now. It's a war now. We don't stand online, take our clothes and walk into the ovens. You come to grab me, I fight. You know? Like everywhere in the war you see. You see in Istanbul now. The army come, they stood and they get shot. They come again. In all the Arab countries, the government goes against them. They don't give up. Look at Syria, what's happening. Everywhere in the world. Look in Israel and the Palestinians, what's happening. Look in Russia, in other places, in Iran, in China. Everywhere the government is strong. The government wins sometimes, but the people don't give up. And the government make adjustment because the people are persistent. So therefore, the change has to come from the nation. This, I thought that I'm going to finish this lecture just with this last 10-15 minutes to clarify, because I know I'm not only speaking to you, because you are a different audience, but this is many people would listen to it online, and I just wanted to clarify to all the people who complain. I don't speak against the college itself. I speak against the waste of time and the waste of money. And I'm speaking rationally based on statistics. Statistics show the real situation. 85% of the people will be very upset and broken. By the time they finish, if they finish, they will be in square one with $100,000 to $200,000 deficit in a bank account, that accumulating 6% interest on their student loan and many other problems. Is it worth it? It's your decision. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just thank you for backing me up on it. I read it myself, and I say, well, if American non-Jews, that they all college graduate, the ones who made the research, they know the college, they know the system, they're born in this country, they come and they tell you such a brave thing, believe me, they have what to back the research on. They're not just going to come and make up 85%, because, that's annoying the government, it's annoying people with lots of power. They have to have a solid proof, Bezrat Hashem. Moshe, next Thursday I won't be able to come here, so if we want to do another lecture here, it will be Thursday in 2 weeks.
27th.
On the 27th. Everyone wants to know when the lecture takes place. Please go into my website, divineinformation.com, or you can just Google my name in Google. I come the first one on the list. Just put Rabbi Mizrachi. So you see on my website you have events. Click on events. It shows the entire monthly schedule, what places I speak, and what locations, the topics, the times, and everything, basically, Baruch Hashem. And there's lots of lectures in different places. Overall, every Sunday I'm in Brooklyn, every Monday I'm in Queens, and we're going to try to make it now every Thursday that I'm going to be here, and then in different places. And Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm going to different places. Baruch Adonai L'Olam.